But even if
in that space.
so I was more
But,
talking
but
about
publishing is always in a song.
But
always.
I was talking about more from the mastering point of view and not from the artist point of view. So I know that, like, you know, if you own your own masters, if you own the masters, you know what I mean, you should be, I want to know, you know what I mean, but like you just said, it's the Wild Wild West, so it's probably...
If you own your master, I mean, the master is what people are selling in NFT anyway, so whether it's one of one or 25 being allowed to be minted or whatever, yeah, it's really like a limited use master. What you're describing, NFT on the master side is a very limited use of a master, which Wu-Tang kind of did it without the internet back in the day when they sold one copy of their one album for like $2 million to that guy. So they were already on that concept of making it like a special piece of art.
Okay.
What's going on, fellas? James Jr. with Money Games Entertainment. I know you mentioned that the publishing was difficult and you know, what was uncovered with the streaming. So basically my question is, can you in a nutshell break down to us the publishing behind the streaming and how the streaming has been monetized as the new wave in the recording industry?
Anybody else want to jump in just to talk some? So the streaming obviously has become the most common consumption for music, right? Everyone now, very rarely you're listening to CDs, very less they're listening to albums, less they're listening to cassettes. Everyone's listening to streaming for the most part. And I think your question was, how does it work? So for the most part, again, there's the master side and a songwriter side that both had to be addressed. They had done their deals with the major labels a while back because they knew they weren't going to get away with having the masters up and streaming without talking to Universal for their catalog, Warner, Elektra, Atlantic, WEA for their catalog, Sony for their catalog. They did those deals, and they decided what percentage of the income that they made on a monthly basis would go to the majors, and then also the collective of independents like Empire and such. You know, they dealt with them as a collective, and so they dealt with all the companies that are going to be allowing music to be uploaded. Then separately, there was a big argument and a big fight from the songwriters, which is the same thing that happened when they first started making records. People bought the masters, but nobody bought the songs. And both times you had to go to the government. So at the first time they went and argued and they created what they called the statutory rate. The statutory rate was for a mechanical license. They had to say, the government had to make a rule to protect songwriters. And the law was, if you make a mechanical object out of a song, because a song is just in the air, you can't touch a song. If you make a mechanical object out of a song, like a CD, then you owe the songwriter a certain amount of pennies. Well, streaming, there was no mechanical thing. So they were like, hey, what's the mechanical? There's nothing mechanical being made here. The law doesn't fit. And so they got away with not paying for a long time. And then the government had to step in again and say, okay, let's update the rule because we have this new thing going on. And what we'll do is we'll have you pay 15% of whatever comes in to the collection agency, kind of like how ASCAP and BMI collect for radio. This would collect, and they use Harry Fox again, basically, but they create a collective that is going to collect that money. And what I will say is, people do have to really take care of their catalog as a songwriter, because they've given a list of things that you have to do to make sure your songs are properly registered. Same way you had to make sure you're registered at BMI to make sure you got your radio play, or ASCAP to make sure you got that income, that performance income. You need to be always properly registered in the Mechanical License Collective to make sure you're collecting your streaming income. And Danny can talk to that some too.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's a little bit ambiguous, but you know, streaming is everything now. So, and it is generating income because the streaming platforms keep getting bigger and bigger. So it's where it was a penny or, like a penny rate, now it's a fraction of a penny. So I don't know look at like maybe a tenth of a penny per stream or even a little bit less. So, if you get 1 million streams times, 0.001, that's probably what you're generating on the publishing side. But keep in mind that's still split between all the songwriters and the publishers. And as we know, especially in hip hop, all the songs have 5, 6, 7 writers on almost every song. So you've got 7 people splitting a tenth of a penny per stream. So you got to do a lot of streams to make some money.
Yeah, if I could convey anything, man, if you can make a track by yourself, I don't know what's going on, but I don't ever see any track. I'm an attorney, and when they send me now the list of contracts that have to be done, for every song now, it's 3 or 4 contracts. And I just, for myself, my own sanity, and for your own money, why are y'all doing this? Why can't y'all make one song by yourself anymore? What is going on? I would have asked the producers that in the room. What is going on? Why is it 3 names? And why is it that a guitar player is getting producer credit now? Or a guy who came in and just hit a triangle bell is getting a producer credit and has to get a producer agreement. Like, that used to be called a musician.
You gotta ask Kanye that question.
But, all right, I'm gonna get off of that.
Peace to the whole panel, man. I'm Ashton Kutcher, DJ and producer.
By the way, this guy discovered Outkast and Escape. Y'all need to be asking him some questions, man.
Hey, my question for you, Mr. Phillips, though, I just want to know what the journey was like taking BME from a company that was on like Ashby to like the top of the fucking world, and what it was like working with Lil Jon, like who's known for like ratchet shit, but you're like distinguished, and you know what I mean? Like, what was that like, bro?
Well, I was young and probably not quite as distinguished as I am now. So we all are local guys from Atlanta. We grew up together. I know John since middle school, 8th grade. And we were really like, I tell people all the time, we were probably no different than any of y'all, just like some friends trying to get into the music industry. John was a DJ. Ian can speak to this. He was one of the people. X, they know they were coming through, bringing the records by, and John would spin the records. We saw Jermaine Dupri kind of blow up right in front of our face, so it kind of was like, and this was when Atlanta didn't have the music scene that it does. So, people like, again, Ian had launched and discovered some of these first acts, and we were kind of seeing it happen. And for us, being some local guys from the SWATs, we were just like, okay, what is this? Because John's seeing it, he's DJing it, and I was the guy passing out the flyers for the club back then, right? I was the promoter. So, I was going to Georgia State. John would come spin on the campus. We was living, like you said, on Ashby Street, which is now Joseph Lowry, and just watch the scene kind of develop in front of us, and found our way. So, when I finished undergrad, because I was the only guy in my particular crew that went to college, I said, okay, well, I'm going to just continue on. I'm going to go to law school because I see what's going on here, and this thing is going to need attorneys. And like your mom said, if it don't work, at least you'll just be a lawyer. So I just continued on, and it worked out. But we were a part of a wild little scene back then, and we had the Youngblood. I was repping the Youngbloods and Pastor Troy and Jeezy in the beginning of Jeezy. So it was a good time. But again, I just want to appreciate TJ's DJs, because he was one of the first people to ever be playing our music down in Florida. It wasn't a coalition wasn't existing yet, but all the individual DJs in the coalition was super important to us. So like Funky was, had the East Side on lock, and he still does. What's my man that had his birthday party every year down in Florida? Demp, these kind of people, it's a network. And that's why really, in the beginning, I said we really appreciate DJs, because 2 of the members of BME were DJs, Lil Jon and Cersei. So I get it. I understand DJs and the importance of them more than probably most executives.
Ayo Kip, I just specialize in audio, period, anything audio. I was wondering, as far as in publishing, as far as PROs and publishing writer organizations, I know there's ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC, but I was wondering, are there third-party PROs or personal beings in the industry that specialize themselves in getting publishing paid for artists and producers and all that?
I mean, there's a fourth PRO, but they're really just going after the highest end, catalogs. Really, the three main PROs are who you need to go with to register your songs and get money. There's not like an individual PRO. There's no way to really get your money from radio licensing unless you go through one of the PROs. And I mean, they're all, Ian was at ASCAP for forever. So, and they all do their service. Like, it's kind of like Coke and Pepsi, and maybe, I don't know what you call, but CSAC made a really smart move by buying Harry Fox. So while they have the smallest market share, they now have the whole market on the mechanical licensing and know basically every single license that goes through Harry Fox. So they're all three kind of coexist, and the volume's too high for there only to be one anyway.
I got kind of confused when you asked that question. I think it was kind of tricky because you were talking about from PROs, but then you were talking about collecting your publishing money. There's companies like Song Trust and Audium that go out there and find your royalties from, say, your YouTube plays or whatever, to get you some of your money that's just out there that hasn't been claimed yet. So I don't know if that answers your question, but.
All right, I got a question real quick. It's your boy, Agent Matthews. I'm here on behalf of Big Break Magazine. I got a question for basically everybody in the room. When it comes down to business, now this is for the article as well. When it comes down to business, what are some of the things people can do to make sure that they don't get fucked in the business?
I was just enjoying listening. I'm learning too. The number one thing that you can do is educate yourself. And I push that very strongly. And there are two books that I always recommend every time this question is brought up. All You Need to Know About the Music Industry by Donald S. Passman, and Music, Money, and Success by Brayback and Brayback. And of course, there are countless other books and magazine articles and YouTube videos that you can watch and learn. It's like you have to take the time to educate yourself about the process, learn about publishing, learn what a PRO is. You know what I'm saying? The difference between, we good? Okay. The difference between a mechanical royalty, and a performance rights royalty and a sync license. You know what I'm saying? Everybody in this room, if you're into the music, you should know those things. So, like I said, just educate yourself about the process.
I think one of the biggest things I see is everybody signs something early. It's like everybody wants to be down with somebody else. It's like wait till you have stuff going on, and then seek out, people who do this. Like, don't everyone sign to your brother or your uncle or whatever just because you think, they've got, a little farther ahead of you in the game. Because I just find out that by the time something does get going, you're already 3 deep in who you've signed to, So I just think, don't sign anything until you need to.
And there's so many ways you can get fucked out here. So you can get fucked contractually, but you can get fucked just trying to promote your music and be heard. I really think you gotta kind of check references if possible, because there's more snakes in this shit now than I ever seen in my life. And just understand, if a person is really doing it, they're not gonna send you a DM on Instagram asking you to do business with them. For the most part, a lot of them, you got to know somebody that knows somebody that knows them. Or you got to come through a reference. This shit crazy.
I just want to give all y'all flowers because it's hard getting in this music industry. Like he said, you got to know somebody. So with me and a manager and managing artists, how did you know when to let an artist go or to stick with an artist and see through the end? because I've been managing artists, and some artists be like, I just want the fame, and you don't find that out until 2-3 years later working with them, and you're like, well, I really love music, so I'm not in it for the fame. I'm retired veteran, so I do it because I love it. So how do you know?
I think that's the first and foremost is, stick with artists that you believe in their music. And there's definitely going to be ups and downs. And it's hard to make money. I mean, it really is. For every 100 acts or 1,000 acts, one of them is going to break through and start getting shows and start doing things. So you've got to work with music that you love, but also I think the main thing is work with artists that want to work. I think everyone thinks they're just going to, become famous overnight or post a few IG posts and then, it's on. No, what are you working on? How often are you in the studio? Who are you writing with? What are you doing to do it next? And also I think, some of social media is great on one hand because it gives us all access, but it's also kind of taken some of the, the real, where's the music? Where, you're not a star just because 10,000 people liked your silly post. What are you doing? Is there a song behind it? Is there something you're doing, and you got to just keep grinding. No matter how big you get, no matter what you're doing, it still goes back to the song and great songs and great music.
Hi,
Management, I'm sorry, I want to add on to that, my bad. Management is such a thankless job. And I'm a glutton for punishment, that's why I keep doing it. People have the wrong idea about management, first and foremost. They feel that the manager is your personal bank, you know what I'm saying, where you live, and all of that. You know what I'm saying? What they don't realize, in all actuality, a manager works for you. A manager is just like, when you're an artist, you're a CEO. You're a CEO of your own situation. And it's your job to put people in place to run certain factions of your business. You know what I'm saying? So a manager is nothing but an employee, but a manager is just like a manager at a fast food restaurant. You know what I'm saying? They handle the day-to-day activities, and they keep an eye on the other parts. I'm watching you on the fries. I'm watching y'all take your orders. That's what a manager does. And the thing of it is that you don't pay the artist pays you. Now, see, if you want to have me going out here buying different things and putting you up to live and paying for studio time and your beats and stuff like that, I tell you what, you give me the 80% and you take 20%. You understand? So first and foremost, these artists out here have to get their mind right when it comes to the management situation. You know what I'm saying? And understand what a manager really does. And a manager is your best, no, not your best friend, your best fan. A manager truly believes in what it is that you're doing. Your manager stands in front of the stage and not in the back trying to be cool, you know what I'm saying, talking on the phone, got the shades on. Your manager's in front of the stage knowing every single lyric. When I was doing Outkast, boy, I was a fool with it. You know what I'm saying? When they performed, I knew every lyric. That's because I slept in the studio with them when we were doing that first album. You know what I'm saying? So that's what a manager is, and everybody has to understand, know, realize, and recognize the power of a manager, and the power of a manager that really believes in you and your music.
For me, it's important to actually get to know the person. Just because they make dope music don't mean I fuck with them. And so before I manage any artist, I have to make sure our goals line up. I have to make sure that the work ethic is there. But most importantly, I have to make sure that I actually fuck with this person. Because we have to grind together, for who knows how long. And some people ain't built for this. Some people don't want it as much as they think they do. You have to be able to see all that.
Hi, I'm DJ Epiphany D. Shea from Dallas, Texas, and my question to the panel is, do y'all have any suggestions on artist development, like programs or just artists on performing? Like, because sometimes as a DJ, they may not know how to hold the mic or just submitting music. Sometimes I deal with a lot of events and artists have to submit their music. They not submitting sets. I prefer sets, but if they submitting like separate songs, they don't know how to submit that, or they might need help with performing, or just if they don't have a manager, they might just have somebody booking them. Y'all have any programs that y'all suggest?
I mean, I think the best learning is practice, and open mics get a bad name. I think a lot of it's because people look at them wrong. Ultimately, that's a platform for you to practice, period. If you luck up and get seen, cool. It's a place for you to get content, possibly a place for you to network and meet people. But I don't think artists should look at them as an end to all means, like you just gonna blow up because you perform at this open mic. But there's good out of all of it. You just have to approach it properly.
On top of that, I'll say, I've seen artists that kind of skip that phase, and I feel like it could be detrimental to them because, like you said, it's a good chance to practice. So, occasionally you have an artist that, certain the weather pattern just worked out for them, and they got to a higher level without having to go through some of these things. And what happens is, to me, I always say it's tough to go back and go live on the open mic type circuit once you're looked at on this level. So I suggest that all artists take advantage of that. I think it's just a great opportunity for artists to hone their skill, understand what makes people like them. I remember the first time I saw B.O.B., by the time I saw him, he had obviously been doing enough open mics that I was just like, man, I don't know who he is, but I've never heard one of these songs before, but God damn, this guy can perform. I mean, I was so interested in him because he had mastered his performance, and because Bo Hagen had me come out and check him out. That's how far back that was. You know what I mean? So I just say definitely I cannot overstate how important I feel like that era can be for an artist in the very beginning to hone those skills and become really good at the craft.
Next question. What's up, y'all? My name Reddy from Washington, D.C., right? My big question is, how much money we need? I mean, at the end of the day, everything is an expense. From recording the song to shooting the video to paying for Spotify placements to paying for YouTube placements to everything is an expense. So when do we get to eat?
So I'll just kind of start it because I'm sure everybody really can kind of speak to this. So one thing I'll say is, you're going to have to pay these certain expenses that you just named in this day and age in order to get a chance to get a look. I also still believe in, in locking down your city, right? And being able to go hand to hand, personal. I know I come from an older era, but look, there's still clubs, there's still DJs, and there's still people in those clubs. So, if you can also make a name for yourself within a space, within a region. The first time I saw Lil Scrappy and Trillville, I saw them at like a little club on the east side, and nobody outside of that place knew about them, but everybody in there knew every word to their stuff. And so it said to me, okay, if they can lock down this audience, then I can spread that. I can take that and do something with it. But to the bigger play and to the bigger efforts, two things. Number one, yes, you have to try these things. They don't guarantee anything because it's one thing about streaming, it's hard to have a real cheat code. People either like it or they don't. You can't really force stuff on people because even if you get it onto the playlist, people will skip it and they'll see it got skipped, right? But you got to get it out there. You got to get it seen. And then the other thing you have to be ready for is a hit is a gift and a curse. Because once you get a hit, you can't stop feeding the hit, right? You have to keep putting money in because it will be a point where people will say, this can go to the next level, but you're going to have to pay for the right looks to get it to the next level. So, that's kind of my start on that, and I think the guys could probably add some more to that.
You good? I'm probably going to get jumped after this. The bottom line is you guys don't understand how easy you have it. Like I come from the old school with Vince, with Danny, and TJ, where we had to walk our artists into clubs and introduce them. We couldn't do a worldwide campaign that you guys can do today. Y'all just need to get up off your asses and think outside the box, use social media, and all the we had to do, come on, man. It didn't exist when we were out here, but we broke them. We broke Outkast. We broke TLC. We broke Arrested Development. Even with all the handicaps that we had back then, you guys have it so good that you don't even realize it. And you know what the problem is? You're lazy. You're not exercising your mind and getting out there and making it work for you. There's so many free avenues that you can actually put out music and put out your videos, put out content. But you have to think outside the box. You have to be creative. You can't think, well, Justin Bieber did 100,000 video views on, I'm gonna do just what Justin Bieber did. No, do something else. Create something else. You know what I'm saying? You guys have it so good. You know, that's why we have a bunch of young black hip hop millionaires right now. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing. We never made the kind of money that these kids are making out here today. That's because they think outside the box. They're doing movies. They're doing branding. They're doing all of these type of things to help further their careers. It doesn't necessarily have to be about the music. You know, once you establish yourself, you're a brand. And then you could take that brand any and everywhere, just like Coke, Pepsi, McDonald's, or any other fast food chain. But you have to go ahead and think outside the box and make it work. Oh, snap. Oh, snap. The queen is here. Oh, my goodness. Okay, we all gonna shut up. We all shutting up.
Hey, I wanted to say one thing about that is you can't just, I mean, you can, but you can't just buy everything. You know, I still think a whole bunch of it depends on the relationships, and I think that's one of the things that the younger generation is missing. They're just trying to get to it. They just want to pay for it and get to it. But so much of this stuff has to do with the relationships. Don't neglect the people. You know what I'm saying? Get to know who you can, build. It can save you a lot of money in the long run.
One thing, and I hate to break protocol, I swear, y'all. I swear, no disrespect. Because I'm looking at it from their point of view. They're my OG. I done met you 3, 4, 5, 6 million times. You hear me? My name Mugs a Million. Look, artists, I'm an artist too. I've been where they been. I've been where y'all been. I'm here to bridge the gap. It's the simple stuff. The man said the word easy. If Coalition, you go break bread with Coalition and they start pumping your single and playing it on all they DJ with their BDS, their media base, and they tracking it, and these labels going and they looking for it. If they can't see it show up in the system, your stuff don't count. BMI ass kept this stuff $50, $100 free. Take care of the simple stuff. When you throw your music out there, guess what? If it go with one sale, one stream, or 1 million streams, you're going to get counted for and you're going to get paid for it. But you ask how you get paid for it. Take care of your business. Right. Build network like the man said. This man taught me some of everything I know over 10 years ago. They doing a 10-year challenge on Facebook. This what it look like. You hear me though? This what it look like. God is good, y'all. Do it for my mama. Appreciate you, X. And look, whoa, I do it for my mama. Beautiful queen. You are beautiful queen. That's why the queen and the kings connect. The queens and the kings connect. All the pieces is on the board, y'all. Look how I moved on the board. Look how I moved on the board from way back there. Huh? From way back there, they moving the pieces around on the board, y'all. I'm on the board, y'all. Money United with Game. That's my company name. Mugs a Million is in the building.
He just said the main thing that I really want to cover. First, guys, how are y'all? And I'm very sorry. I went to the wrong damn place. I'm going to be late for my own funeral, but it's okay. But he just went to one of the biggest things that I wanted to really talk about, okay? And one of the things why these are very, very important, the DJs are the most importantest people in this game, okay? Don't look at them labels. Don't look at all these people. Because if the DJ do not spin your record, no one will acknowledge you. You have to understand that. I appreciate every DJ because that's what took me in my career. It was the DJs that looked out for me. So I'm always respecting the DJs. I'm always going to look up at them, and I'm always going to support them. But he just said something that is very, very important with a lot of the new artists that y'all really have a misconception of how this game really run. Y'all don't really understand this. And yes, Spotify and all of that is really, really good. The streams are fine, but you have to have BDS spins. You are not solidified, and I want you to understand this. You are not solidified as an artist without a BDS spin. Now, your record spin on Spotify, how many times would it have to spin for you to get $1? And then tell me, where did your money go before that? Y'all have to understand this game. When people try to tell you the game, you want to get pissed off. You want to think that they don't know anything. A show does not make you an artist. It don't make you no artist getting up there, being on a show, doing shows. That don't solidify you as an artist. Well, I ain't got no show. And then everybody want managers, and everybody want all these people. You ain't got no damn career, you don't need no manager. You gotta handle your business. You have to. Like, it's things that y'all have to put in line, and you can't look for nobody to do this for you. You can't look for anybody to make this happen for you. You have to make this happen for you. You are the artist. People are only as good as you are. If you're no good, nobody up here, none of us will be any good to you. But you have to lead this stuff off. And you have to know what you want, and you have to know why you're getting